Before I introduce the next talk, I just want to remind you that we're now, the Museums Computer Group is now on Blue Sky, and if you want to use the hashtag MuseTech24, there's, I think, a lot of activity there at the moment. So our next talk is from Jennifer Thomas and Camilla Stewart. And Jennifer Thomas, who'll be speaking, is the audience data analyst from Art UK, talking about getting to know the digital audience for a national collection. So, welcome.
Hi, so I'll be talking about a project that we've just started, but first of all, who are Art UK? Well, we are a charity, and we make the UK's national collection of art accessible to all online at our website. We're also one of the UK's largest partnerships of art establishments. We work together with 3,400 British institutions to bring together their art on our platform. And as well as all the art that you can find on our website, it is also rich in terms of story content, the learning resources we have available for teachers, and also public engagement opportunities, such as the ability to tag artworks. In today's talk, I'll be talking about a project that we've just started to try and get to know our audience better. So why did we want to start this project? How did we go about starting it? What are the steps in the process that we're following? And I'll talk about the insights that we've had so far, in the hope that by sharing these with you, that should you embark on something similar, that would be useful for you. And I will say that we're very early on in this process, so this is very much a high-level talk, talking about our plans rather than the results of our work. So why did we want to engage in trying and understand a bit more about our audience? Because we already have some understanding. Well, Art UK are very ambitious. They want to be the go-to online destination that people go to learn about UK art. But to do that, we really hadn't got the depth of understanding that we needed about our audience to help us move towards that goal. And we also had some specific things that we wanted to use that research for. We want to improve our digital offering when we're developing our website further. So we need to understand what the needs of our audience are, what they want from our site better. We want to expand our audience. We want more people engaging and coming and looking at all the wonderful art that we have. We're also an organisation who don't receive regular fundraising, regular funding. So we want to be able to make the applications that we write for funds as tight and as impressive as they can be, so that we can carry on continuing this great work. We also need to improve our audience communication plans, and to do that we felt we wanted a segmentation of our digital-only audience. And being digital-only, we felt that that's something tricky to do, to get a segmentation of that, because you can't just buy a product off the shelf that can help you, that maps to postcodes or anything like that. So we felt we needed to embark on a project to help us to understand the segmentation. So we knew why we wanted to do it, and there was also some specific things about our audience that was making it tricky, where we hadn't really got to those kind of depths of understanding yet. So 60% of our traffic to our site is from overseas, and we haven't really dug into that. We also had that two-audience problem that was mentioned this morning. So we have the collections who we provide services to, and also the people who just come to our site to research art, websites and social audiences. And yes, we do have audience research, but we haven't really pulled that together well enough to try and unpick and understand our audience better. So how did we start? Well, we didn't want to do this alone. We wanted somebody to work with who had done this before to help guide us through the steps. So we had to gain some funds to be able to do that. And we placed a tender document on our website and sent it out to a variety of agencies. And within that, we focused on the things that were key to be delivered. So we wanted that digital audience segmentation. But we also didn't want the work to be insular. We didn't want it to be just focused on Art UK. So we also asked for a summary of online cultural audience research so that we can place our understandings and learnings about Art UK into context. And also, as we just heard, we didn't want the research to be placed in a drawer. We want it to be actionable and become part of life at Art UK. So as well as the actually asking for the research to be undertaken, we've built into the contract that we have a 9-month period where we have 1 day a month continuing to work with the agency going forward. And that was really important to us to try and embed the research findings. And then came the tricky thing. We actually got a large number of agencies, and it was really difficult to choose because everybody made a really good pitch for this work. So we then had to step back and really focus on what was key for us. So as well as the practical support, we wanted somebody that could help take us in a strategic direction. So being able to offer that was key. We thought about the data and the methods that the different agencies were suggesting, because we wanted something that other organisations would also be able to follow. So it needed to be something that could be reproducible, because we wanted to be able to share our learnings with others. We were seduced by an agency who had outside sector experience as well to see if we could get insights from that. And then practical things in terms of, we were asking about long-term costs of the partnership as well, because although we'd built into the contract the additional 9 months, we then also wanted to continue that going forward. So knowing how that would cost, how much would cost us in the long term, is a practical things, but they're important. And you can see that we chose Story Things as our partner for this work. And we have only just begun, so I can tell you what the steps are that we're going to be going through. So we started the desk research phase, where I've gathered together a package of information, including all the historic research, such as what you have some snapshot examples of here, and also strategic documents and an overview of our GA4 data to try and help Story Things to get up to speed and to start to get to grips with our audience. We had an online session, so I think we saw some other post-it notes earlier on today as well. So this was a session that we held with Art UK staff, and it provides an opportunity to get out a lot of ideas and assumptions and views about what the staff members think about who the audience are, where we would like to be going with that audience, what we think the audience would get from those activities, and what would we get from that. So it's a good way to get a lot of information very quickly on an electronic Miro board. Bringing those two things together, we were then able to identify 5 profiles of people that we then wanted to take to a qualitative research phase. So they were professionals, people who were using our site for educational purposes, the general public who were using our site, but also general public that were not using our site, because this is also an audience broadening exercise. So we want to learn about people who are not using the site and what we might be able to offer them, and also stakeholders as well. So we have just recently started interviewing those people, and we've also able to kind of had some characteristics that we wanted to make sure that we're hitting within those people that we were recruiting, such as making sure that we're talking to people who are not from outside the UK, making sure that we're talking to teachers, making sure that we're talking to our younger users of our site as well. So people that maybe perhaps are a bit busy and not teachers especially aren't going to be necessarily flocking to fill out our surveys online all the time. So it was a way of making sure that we included all those types of voices within this part of research. Then after Christmas, I'm very much looking forward to hearing how these come together within the segments that will be suggested to us from Story Things. This won't be like a statistical modelling exercise, it'll be more of a thought-driven exercise where they'll be pulling together the strands from the research that they've undertaken to help us to identify segments, and we anticipate that these may well be driven by the needs of the different parts of our audience, because you need to be satisfying a need really to keep people's focused and keep people engaged on your site. But then there's a checking stage after that, where we plan to run a survey and also use our GA4 data to try and explore whether some of our hypotheses about how people are behaving, whether we can see evidence of that within our site, and there could well be some iteration at that stage to try and refine the segments. And then the last step is that there will be a playbook written. So details as to what are the definitions of those segments that we've identified and how can we put them into practice within Art UK? What formats do we think will work with those groups? And then following that, with our period of implementation that we'll be continuing to work with StoryThings, we'll be identifying some test communications that we can work on together and to try and keep the work alive, because as we just heard, research goes out of date, identifying kind of key questions that we can ask going forward. So I'm aware that this is very much kind of a work in progress, but if you want to hear how the work's going, then please just drop me a line, and thank you.